There's a lot of ways to lose your house. You wish that on people. You wish that families starve while you're making $27 million a year for creating nothing. Be careful,
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Bob Iger, the CEO at Disney, was asked about the labor strife with both of these workforces in an interview on CNBC that was really, just so gross. They spent about 2 minutes on the largest entertainment labor action in decades out of a 40-minute interview, the rest of which was more or less fellatio. Aren't you so smart? Aren't you such an effective parasite? Aren't you so, wow, you're so great, Mr. Iger. You're so inspiring. Just really, gross. But let's actually take a look at the entire 2 minutes where anything of relevance was talked about and react to this. And Adam, you may want to be prepared because there's going to be a couple of places that I'm going to want to stop.
Copy that.
We're in the midst of a writer's strike, and very likely it would seem to have a actor's strike. How is that going to impact things, and what are your expectations there?
Well, I think it's very disturbing to me. We've talked about disruptive forces on this business and all the challenges that we're facing and the recovery from COVID, which is ongoing. It's not completely back. This is the worst time in the world to add to that disruption.
Okay, stop it right there. Then pay them, you absolute parasitic ghoul. If it's so bad of a time for this to happen, you have the power to make it not happen. Just pay the actors, pay the writers. Take a little bit less money for yourself and your shareholder friends. Okay, let's continue.
I understand any labor organization's desire to work on the behalf of its members to get the most compensation, to be compensated fairly based on the value that they deliver. We managed as an industry to negotiate a very good deal with the Directors Guild that reflects the value that the directors contribute to this great business. We wanted to do the same thing with the writers, and we'd like to do the same thing with the actors. There's a level of expectation that they have that is just not realistic. And they are...
We'll stop right there. Just not realistic. This guy's getting millions, tens of millions of dollars a year. And we're gonna play this clip from Adam Conover in a bit, but he's talking in he got there on a private jet. He's at a billionaire retreat with all of these other parasites, Mark Zuckerberg, all these people. But he's talking about these people wanting to be able to pay their rent. They're not being realistic, wanting to pay their rent.
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to survive, feed their families.
Let's keep going.
Adding to a set of challenges that this business is already facing that is, quite frankly, very disruptive.
So they're not being realistic?
No, they're not.
Why not?
I can't answer that question. I respect their right and their desire to get as much as they possibly can in compensation for their people. I completely respect that. I've been around long enough to understand that dynamic and to appreciate it. But you also have to be realistic about it with the business environment and what this business can deliver. It is and has been a great business for all of these people, and it will continue to be, even through disruptive times. But, being realistic is imperative.
What do you
here.
do in the interim then? Does AI start to write a lot of scripts?
It will have a very, very damaging effect on the whole business, and unfortunately,
the strike will.
There's huge collateral damage in the industry to people who are, who are support services. I could go on and on. It will affect the economy of, different regions even because of just the sheer size of the business. It's a shame. It is really a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame, and it's people like him. It's their fault.
Right. You can totally end this if you're so concerned about the collateral damage, quote unquote, of this strike. We'll settle it.
Yeah.
Settle it with a fair contract for the people who actually create the value in which you profit from.
He wasn't the only executive to make ghoulish remarks about the strike. There was another one who was quoted anonymously, I believe.
That's right.
Who said that they're really fine. It's not a big deal. They're just going to wait for these people to become homeless, the writers and actors to become homeless. Quote, the end game is to allow things to drag on until union members start losing their apartments and losing their homes. That's what these people want to happen, right? That's the end game.
Totally
for
disgusting.
Them. Yeah. So, just a symphony of evil things coming from these types of people.
Right. And I want you to think about whose side are you on in this situation, and who really, who do you have more in common with?
Yeah.
Mr. IGER or these workers who are trying to just scrape together a living?
Right. So Bob Iger, CEO of Disney, multi-hundred millionaire, maybe a billionaire potentially, I'm not sure. Those comments were made before the actors' strike began, obviously during the actors' strike. It's now 3 or 4 months long. But Fran Drescher was asked about about those comments after the strike began, while I think she was on the picket line. And here's the response that she gave to a reporter.
Those comments yesterday.
I found them terribly repugnant and out of touch, positively tone deaf. And, I don't think it served him well. If I were that company, I would lock him behind doors and never let him talk to anybody about this, because it's so obvious that he has no clue as to what is really happening on the ground with hardworking people that don't make anywhere near the salary that he's making. 7 figures, 8 figures. It's like, this is crazy money that they make, and they don't care. They're like land barons of a medieval time.
Yeah, and she's absolutely right from a PR perspective. How do you let these people continue to speak? I mean, if you are can you imagine being like a press person for these companies right now? I mean, she's totally right that the smart thing for them to do would be to tie them up and throw them in a basement for the duration of the strike. Even if just for their own good, that would be the best thing for them to do. But these people are, in addition to being, parasites and blood-sucking leeches, they're also insanely arrogant and narcissistic, and they think that they can do no wrong. So they are not going to be tied up and thrown in a basement. They're going to continue blabbering when people ask them about things. In addition to President Drescher responding, Adam Conover responded as well, also from the picket line. He is in both SAG-AFTRA and the WGA, and he is on the WGA's negotiating committee. Let's listen to Adam's response.
So this morning, the CEO of Disney went on TV and said that what writers and actors are asking for is not realistic because they just don't have enough money to pay us. But he said this at a billionaire retreat where he was hanging out with Mark Zuckerberg and David Zaslav that they all flew to on their private jets. And you know what? I don't think that that's realistic. Here's a dose of reality for you, Bob. Writers cannot afford to pay their mortgages. Actors are not able to make a living in Los Angeles anymore. That is reality to us, not flying around on private jets. And until you accept that reality, we are going to be out here on the picket lines withholding our labor, depriving you of your product, and you will not make another dollar off of us until you come back to the table and face reality and negotiate with us as you have refused to do. And until you do that, there will be no acting and no writing.
Powerful words, great stuff, as always, from Adam Conover. Exactly right. Nothing really to add. And so since I don't have anything to add, I've got one more person involved in this strike that had a response to some of these comments. And this one was in particular responding to the anonymous studio executive who said that they want to make people homeless. Let's hear what Ron Perlman said.
But I will say one thing before I get off this. The mother who said we're going to keep this thing going until people start losing their houses and their apartments. Listen to me. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. Some of it is financial, some of it is karma, and some of it is just figuring out who the said that And we know who said that. And where he lives. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. You wish that on people. You wish that families starve while you're making $27 million a year for creating nothing. Be careful, be really careful. Because that's the kind of that stirs shit up. Peace out.
I did not realize how much cursing there was in that video. Ben was right that he did have to bleep out like half the video. But
a lot of editing on that one.
A lot of editing on our part on that one. So yeah, that was Ron Perlman.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Good stuff. So with that, let's go ahead and actually, I'm going to respond to some of this stuff in the chat. Max Alvarez actually got it right. He knew that it was Reagan that was the president during the last actor strike that was coincided with the writers. We got a $4.99 super chat from Reckoning Collective Media that said a WDRB news host just claimed during the strike of the 90s, drivers were, quote, proud of the scab work their managers did. Dumber than the 35 an hour claim. It sounds pretty dumb, for sure. Del Real 1040. I'm a UPS driver. I really appreciate your channel, man. Keep up the great work. We're going to come out on top. Local 639. Thank you for your support. Hustler of Culture, but Ad Asner was head for a while there. No, maybe. I'm not sure. Not really familiar with the history of the presidents of SAG-AFTRA. Will says the devil, Ronald Reagan, and that's correct. Ronald Reagan's the devil.
Glad Reagan did.
And let's see here. Some other stuff. Brandon says, I stand with Fran. She is my Khaleesi. What's a Khaleesi?
I think it's a reference to, what is it, Game of Thrones, perhaps? I don't know. A reference to a show I didn't watch.
Okay.
How about that?
Tristan says, y'all need to get Conover on the show or get a spot on his. He would come on the show, actually. We need to send him an invite.
Not a bad idea.
Devastator Omega says it's not anonymous anymore. It was the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, who makes $27 million. Just recently, Wall Street gave him a raise, making $31 million now. Is that actually, has it been confirmed that Bob Iger was the one that said the stuff about making people homeless? I hadn't heard that, but maybe that's
I'm not sure. That could have developed here recently. I do know those figures are accurate in terms of the salary, though,
yes.
Because, yeah, he has just been given a bigger bonus. Yeah. He can get a bigger bonus now.
Imagine getting a bonus during a strike.
A strike that supposedly is creating such collateral damage to the industry and to the economy that is just such, folks are not being realistic. It's just totally disgusting, the amount of corporate greed on display with these studios and, of course, throughout their economy. But these studios are definitely the prime example this week of, extraordinary corporate greed that has just run amok in this country as we continually diminish ourselves into a Gilded Age kind of throwback here. And the only thing we can do to fight back against that is to organize with our fellow workers.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.
Which side are you on?